Well, let's let it go. We're going to introduce Moran,
Yep.
and I'm very excited to hear her. I gather she brought a background in class. She reverted, or maybe she progressed from the violin to the fiddle. She moved from community singing in choirs to community singing in campfires. She has a pretty new CD out that sounds very exciting. And without further ado, let's bring this wonderful singer I'm excited to hear.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I'm really excited to be doing this. Of course, we all wish that we could be together in the same room. And in the meantime, we'll make the best of what we can do and, share some musical joy in the ways that we still can. When I was asked to be part of this festival and handed 50 minutes of time to do whatever I wanted with. And so what do I do with that? And spent some time thinking about it and decided that what I want to do is kind of share, as was being said, but this I came into this music, I didn't grow up in it. I came to it as an adult. And so I kind of want to share a little bit of my story of that and the different people who've really been mentors and inspirations for me and sources of the music, and kind of just walk our way through that story. So we're going to start when I was in college. For a while in college, I was dating a Coast Guard boy, and he had gone to the Coast Guard Academy. Turned out that the academy wasn't a great fit for him, but while he was there, he sailed Bark Eagle across the Atlantic. So he had this deep experience of actually sailing a tall ship, which is not a thing that most people have these days. And while we were dating, he went back. He still wanted to be part of the Coast Guard. So he went back and he went through boot camp and through A school. And while he was there, he would write me letters. And he wrote me the stories of his time sailing on Bark Eagle. And he shared with me the music actually that came from the ancient mariner shantymen at the Mystic Seaport. And so that was my introduction to this music, was through him. He was a wonderful singer and clarinet player. So he was a musician as well. And we'd sing together, driving around, singing shanties in the car. That was my intro to that music. And I have deep gratitude to him for introducing me to this music. And the universe has a really ridiculous sense of humor and of timing. I haven't talked to him in perhaps 20 years. And I got online yesterday morning, logged into LinkedIn, and I see that he looked at my LinkedIn profile. We've had no contact in 20 years. And the timing of that just before this festival is it's so absurd and fantastic. So James Thatch, if you're out there and you're listening, thank you. So we're going to start with a song that I learned from that first album, the first sea song I ever learned to lead and to share. And one of the songs that I put on my album when I decided, I want to put some music out in the world. I used to sit and listen to this by the water. I have sailed across the ocean, I rolled upon the sea, and this dreadful life I'm living is just the life for me. When I was just a young man, I left my family, set out on board the Raging Main to serve America. But when the fight was over, I found I needed more. I signed on board a packet ship bound for some distant shore. I have sailed across the ocean, I rolled upon the sea, and this dreadful life I'm living is just the life for me. I went down to a native bar when we put into shore, got drinking ale and whiskey till I was good and poor. When I awoke, beside me laid a gal I didn't know. Just proves that heathen whiskey can lay a sailor low. I have sailed across the ocean, I've rolled upon the sea, and this dreadful life I'm living is just the life for me. Well, it's haulin' sail and line, me boys, and pushin' capstan round. It's working pumps and windlass, and praying for the sound of the boatswain calling to take us all below and end the pain of every day. Sailors come to know I have sailed across the ocean, I rolled upon the sea, and this dreadful life I'm living is just the life for me. As we rolled into Bank Street at the old New London port, I heard the music playing, saw the dancing on the wharf. The people there was happy 'cause our ship was coming in, and friends and their relations would not go to sea again. I have sailed across the ocean, I've rolled upon the sea, and this dreadful life I'm living is just the life for me. So when the mighty ocean tells you, with a piece of broken deck, that life on land's not half as bad as living through a wreck, so I'll be going home, me boys, to the friends I used to know, and hoist a jar to every man who has the urge to roam. I have sailed across the ocean, I've rolled upon the sea, and this dreadful life I used to live is not the life for me. I have sailed across the ocean, I've rolled upon the sea, and this dreadful life I used to live is not the life for me. So a long time went by after college, and I eventually got involved with a fiddle event that's called Fiddle Hell. It happens in November, and one of the leaders of that event, his name is Andy Reiner. He's a dear friend, inspiration, mentor to me, and he started up a camp called Rustic Roots. And when Rustic Roots started, we were camping in a really lovely backyard. There was no infrastructure. The water comes out of a hose. You can swim in the pond. You can go dig the lat in the woods. We were really rustic about it. And one of the things that we did there was we'd go down to the pond, pass around some rum, and sing some sea shanties. And so that music, there'd been a long time of not, experiencing it again. And then it came back into my life in that way. And at Rustic Roots, I got connected with my dear friend Chris Turner and my dear friend Jerry Bryant, both of whom fabulous, amazing, strong song leaders. And a lot of Jerry's songs are not appropriate for this because this is a family festival. I will share one next, but first I want to sing something that I learned from Chris Turner. And when I first brought this song to the seaport later on, Jeff Kaufman was like, yeah, you learned that for pub singing, right? You didn't learn that for working on the ship. And that's true. My way of singing it is certainly not the authentic work song way. This is a song called John Cherokee, and John Cherokee is a name that they gave to sailors that came out of, Native American communities that were brought onto these ships, often not by their own choice, and they were just given that name as a sort of something to call them. So it's not a great part of our history. It is part of our history, though, and I think it's worth acknowledging and remembering that, a lot of people were doing that work not by their own choice. John Cherokee was an Indian man, Alabama. John Cherokee caught and brought on a Yankee ship, Alabama. John Cherokee, way-oh, Alabama. John Cherokee, way Alabama John Cherokee is caught and brought on a Yankee ship. Alabama John Cherokee, time and again he gave 'em the slip. Alabama John Cherokee, way-ho! Huh. Alabama John Cherokee, way-ho! Huh. Alabama John Cherokee, they caught him again and chained him up tight. Alabama John Cherokee kept him chained both day and night. Alabama John Cherokee, way-ho! Huh. Alabama John Cherokee, way-ho! Huh. Alabama John Cherokee, nothing to eat, nothing to drink. Alabama John Cherokee, till his bones began to clink. Alabama John Cherokee, way-ho! Huh. Alabama John Cherokee, way-ho! Alabama John Cherokee, nothing to drink and nothing to eat. Alabama John Cherokee fell down dead at the captain's feet. Alabama John Cherokee, way-hey-yo! Huh. Alabama John Cherokee, way-hey-yo! Alabama John Cherokee, when he died his ghost was seen. Alabama John Cherokee is sitting on the main truck, wet and green. Alabama John Cherokee, way-hey-yo! Huh. Alabama John Cherokee, way-hey-yo! Alabama John Cherokee, this is the story of John Cherokee. Alabama John Cherokee, an Indian man from Miramichi. Alabama John Cherokee, way-hey-yo! Alabama John Cherokee, way-hey-yo! Alabama John Cherokee.
Wow.
Thank you.
Lynz, you have a comment in the chat. Lisa wanted us to tell you that your first song was lovely.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to say the second one.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody's done any research on what that represents, but it's just a very culturally powerful song. Really amazing song.
All right. Now we're going to do this lovely thing that we get to do because it's the pandemic, and we're going to move the stage over here. And we're going to bring the really big fiddle. So one of the things that's been cool about the pandemic is the chance to work on stuff that maybe wouldn't have happened otherwise. And one of the things I've been working on is cello. So I mentioned that I was going to share something from Jerry Bryant, and I would imagine a lot of you know him, or most of you know him. One of the things that he does that I really love is to take stories that are worth telling and set them to music so they can be shared. And this is a really amazing, crazy story. Right at the end of the 1800s, these two Norwegian guys from New York, they rowed an 18-foot boat all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. This is ridiculous, and they did it. And Jerry found that story and said, oh my goodness, this needs to be a story that gets told. And so he set it to music, and we've had this ongoing back and forth about, oh, it's good luck, right? I dare you, good luck. And I'm going to remember to turn my original sound on because cello. So this is among the type of songs that, like, when do you get to do this? This is a really long song. It does have a chorus. I invite you to join me on that. And I'm going to indulge in telling this story because it's a really great story. This is called The Ballad of Harbo and Samuelson, and Kate Clifford's here, and I'm going to take a moment to say the thing that I know she wants me to say, which is that a ballad is any song that tells a story. So, you know, even John Cherokee that I just sang, you wouldn't think of that as a ballad necessarily, but it tells the story. So, you know, we tend to think of ballads as long, which this is, and involved, which it is, but it has a chorus. So, yeah. In Brooklyn, New York, at the turn of the century, lived two young Norwegians, so brave and so bold. Frank Samuelson, only halfway through his 20s. George Harbo had just become 30 years old. Now Harbo had spent all his life on the water. He'd shipped in square riggers while barely a lad. His partner, likewise, was no stranger to working. No matter the task, he gave all that he had. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. That's the chorus. I hope you'll join me. It'll come around a bunch. Many men had attempted to cross the Atlantic in small wooden boats that were driven by sail. Those that succeeded were welcomed as heroes, but many there were who did nothing but fail. Then a rich publisher offered a challenge that men in a vessel, no matter the size, without steam or canvas, could not make the crossing, and $10,000 he named as the prize. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. Well, dredging up oysters by hand is no picnic, and these two young fellows were tough as a whip. Said Frank, if we row only 4 miles an hour, for 54 days we could finish the trip. Obtaining a sponsor, they started their training. They ordered a dory made of cedar and oak, just 18 feet long, with a draft of 8 inches, and Fox was the name of their cockle-shell boat. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. On the 6th day of June, 1896, Mrs. Harbo and Samuelson started to row. They took food and water to last until August, and the newspapers said they were foolish to go. From a slip in Manhattan, they rode through the Narrows and out for the Gulf Stream and on to the deep. Each day they would row 18 hours together. Each night they took turns, getting 3 hours sleep. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. Well, their stove wouldn't light, so they ate cold provisions. Their arms and their hands became swollen and cramped. the odd passing vessel that took 'em on board was their only relief from the toil and the damp. Then out on the Grand Banks the weather attacked them. The wind humped the water into mountainous waves. They lashed down their oars and they tied on their lifelines and prayed they were not going straight to their graves. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. A monstrous wave hurtled out of the darkness, rolling over the Fox and her terrified crew. The lifelines held fast, but they lost half their water, and most of the food, it was swept away too. They carefully rationed the little remaining, praying for help as they rode through the brine. At last a tall ship appeared on the horizon, with the colors of Norway a-floating behind. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. Well, the captain could not be convinced they weren't crazy, but he gave 'em supplies and they went on their way. By the lines on the chart, they were halfway to Europe, and now they must row 16 miles every day. The weather held fast, the two men kept pulling, all during the days and far into each night. Till early one morning before the sun rose, far out on the horizon they spotted a light. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. On August the 1st they made land at St. Mary's off the south coast of England, close by Bishop's Rock. In amazement the townsfolk gathered down by the water, where Harbo and Samuelson barely could walk. Most men would have stopped then to bask in the glory, after having been sun-beaten, capsized and starved. But they were both back in their boat the next morning, and in less than a week they arrived in Le Havre. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. So those of you listening who yearn for adventure, like Harbo and Samuelson so long ago, like them be prepared for the task you'll be facing. They were not only brave, but by God they could row. We'll see you in France, so we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. Oh, we'll see you in France, oh, we'll see you in heaven, cried Harbo and Samuelson out on the bay. Two hardy young oystermen after adventure, no one believed they could row all the way. That's an adventure of a song to sing on its own right.
That was wonderful.
Say what?
That was wonderful.
Thank you. All right, we come back up here. for a moment. And a beverage.
Marge says, that's a great song, but I'm not a masochist, which I take to mean she will not be rowing 80 miles.
Yeah, or playing cello for 8 minutes.
Robert says that was beautiful. And I agree.
You. Thank you. All right, so what's next in our story? So around 2013, 2014, somewhere in there, I started going to the Mystic Shanty Blast. And that was really eye-opening for me. All of a sudden, here's a room full of, 100 or more people who all want to sing these songs, and the feeling of what it's like to lead a song in that space. It's really wonderful and scary and powerful, and lots of things all rolled up. And one of the things that I discovered as I got into shantying with big groups of people is there are some songs that you can really use to just kick up the energy of the room. And sometimes that's a useful and fun thing to do. This is my favorite song to use for doing that. In South Australia I was born, heave away, haul away, South Australia round Cape Horn, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. As I roved out one morning fair, heave away, haul away, 'twas there I met Miss Nancy Blair, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. Well, I shook her up and I shook her down, heave away, haul away, shook her round and round the town, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. Oh, there ain't but one thing grieves my mind, heave away, haul away, it's to leave Miss Nancy Blair behind, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. As we go all up and around Cape Horn, heave away, haul away, oh, you wish to the Lord that you'd never been born, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. Oh, I wish I was on Australia's strand, heave away, haul away, with a bottle of whiskey in me hand, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. Well, rock and roll and make some noise, heave away, haul away, let's get this damn job over, boys, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. In South Australia I was born, heave away, haul away, South Australia round Cape Horn, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. Haul away, our rolling kings, heave away, haul away, All the way you'll hear me sing, and we're bound for South Australia. Thank you. All right. Let's go back to cello land for a minute. So things start to get a little murkier in the timeline after that, right? I'm getting into the community. I'm meeting more folks, learning more songs from more people. This is, at some point in that timeline, I met Heather Wood. And those of you who know Heather Wood know that she is a force of nature to be reckoned with. And I met the music of the young tradition through her, and some of the music that they do is maritime music. Not all of it, but my favorite version of the song I'm about to sing comes from their singing. Hello, cat. This cat really likes to hang out in the cello space. Her name is Rosie. This song is called Fire Maringo. It's a song about when you're loading cotton onto ships. The more cotton you could fit, the more efficient it was to ship it, right? You could literally, that's okay. So you'd bring the cotton into the ship, and they do what's called screwing the cotton down. So if you hear that phrase in various songs, so they're literally like compressing the cotton in, packing it in so that they could fit more of it into the ship. So there's some bits of this song that you'll hear that talk about screwing the cotton. Lift him up and carry him along. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Put him down where he belongs. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Ease him down and let him lie. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Screw him in, there he'll stay. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Stow him in his hole below. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Stay he must, away he'll go. Fire Maringo, fire him away. When I get back to Liverpool town, fire Maringo, fire him away. I'll pass the line to little Sally Brown, fire Maringo, fire him away. Sally, she's a pretty little craft. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Sharp to the fore, rounded in the aft. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Holler high, holler low. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Bust her blocks and make her go. Fire Maringo, fire him away. screw him down. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Let's get the hell from this high-low town. Fire Maringo, fire him away. When I get back to Liverpool town, fire Maringo, fire him away. I'll stand your whiskies all around. Fire Maringo, fire him away. Yeah. That's my favorite thing to play with the cello right now. Feels
That's
really
just
good.
Deliciously spooky. Oh man. You're getting some love for cello accompaniment in the chat.
It
Yeah.
opens itself up to the weirdest harmonies. Wait till you hear millions of people singing along with that cello.
Woo! I like that idea a whole lot. Oh yeah.
Unknown mode.
Good, 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 good. All right. So things continue. Eventually, I find myself at a really awesome weekend event called Youth Traditional Song Weekend. This is where I met Kate Clifford, who is social hosting for us today, and grateful for that all the time. And YTS is a community of younger singers, so focused on the goal of continuing these traditions with, 80% of the people at the event are in the under 50 crowd. So we're building the community of the younger generation, bringing in younger folks, bringing in, sometimes people bring their really little kids too, which is great. And at YTS, I met Bob Walzer, and he is a wonderful, wonderful singer. If you don't know him, you should look him up. He's got quite a lot of repertoire out there in the world to listen to and learn from. And I want to share a song or two. Just have a look at what time it is about that. Probably just one.
Just under 15 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So we'll do one from him. Oh, that old red duster on a tramp or a liner, there'll be no puss or navy for me. You can keep your salutes and your spit-polished boots. It's the old red duster for me. Well, it's many's the day since I first sailed away. My new cap and jacket so clean. No bacon and eggs till I got my sea legs. 'Twas my first trip, oh Lord, I was green. Oh, that old red duster on a tramp or a liner, there'll be no puss or navy for me. You can keep your salutes and your spit-polished boots. It's the old red duster for me. I was pulled from the pool, I was nobody's fool. 'Twas the jaunt up to Murmansk for me. But the Union said no, as a fourth he can't go. It's the Union forever for me. Oh, that old red duster on a tramp or a liner, there'll be no puss or navy for me. You can keep your salutes and your spit-polished boots. It's the old red duster for me. Well, you know this old tramp's got a forecastle that's damp. Her plates are half sprung and they weep. And the food's always bad and the skipper's gone mad. And those bastards, the owners, are cheap. Oh, that old red duster on a tramp or a liner, there'll be no puss or navy for me. You can keep your salutes and your spit-polished boots. It's the old red duster for me. I've been down in the hold in the heat and the cold, all day and all night as well. And when my end's near, I will go without fear, for you know it's been hotter than hell. Oh, that old red duster on a tramp or a liner, there'll be no puss or navy for me. You can keep your salutes and your spit-polished boots, it's the old red duster for me. So now you all know why the true sailors go merchant seamen to be. And if you want any more like what's come before, you can bloody well sing it to me. Oh, that old red duster on a tramp or a liner, there'll be no puss or navy for me. You can keep your salutes and your spit-polished boots, it's the old red duster for me. Oh, that old red duster on a tramp or a liner, there'll be no puss or navy for me. You can keep your salutes and your spit-polished boots, it's the old red duster for me.
Oh, that was fun to sing along with.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
I look forward to that in person very much.
Yes.
I will. Yes. Kate, can you put in the chat the getaway, because Bob Walser is going to be.
I can. In
Bob
fact,
Milner,
I shall.
Oh, good.
And Stefan Sanfilippo. They're doing but they're doing multicultural routes of the sea shanties, and I'm
awesome! That's great.
Hoping that John Cherokee will fit its way in somewhere over that around that session, if not in that session.
Lynz, I'm not sure if you heard me, but you have 9 minutes, friend.
Thank you, 9.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's do, okay, so things percolate along. Eventually, I'm part of the Mystic Sea Music Festival. And while at that festival, I met some folks from Australia, one of whom was Sue Bryan. And we got to talking over dinner and got to talking about the fact that I'm a fiddle player. And she said, oh, I have tunes that you need to, meet. So it turns out that I have printed this out. This is the Lytton Book of Fiddle Tunes. These are tunes that were collected in the ship's logs of some ships. And I thought maybe I would read to you guys about that, but I'm not gonna because we don't have so much time. But I'll just play a couple of the tunes so you can get a feel for them. They're, when I was playing through these with Andy, and he said they're so happy, and it's really true. They're really, like, a lot of them are very sort of perky, marchy kind of tunes. But we'll just do a couple of them so you can get a feel for some of the music that would have been played. This is 1800 to 1802 was when these were recorded, so on ships from that time period. I'm gonna fix my contact lenses so I can see what we're doing here. Yes. Things. Let's do this one.
Lovely. We've got some people in the chat who are very excited that you picked up the fiddle.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's not a lot of fiddle happening in this particular set, but it is a thing I do. So, yep.
5 minutes.
5. Thank you, 5. All right. So I have a lot more things on my set list than we're going to get to. That's okay. I expected it. Let's do... So one of the groups of singers that I've had the pleasure of meeting and learning from and singing with is the Johnson Girls. Probably everybody here knows them. If you don't, look them up. They're super. So here's a song from them. Brandy good for sailor man, brandy early in the morning, brandy early in the morning, give us a drop of brandy, brandy good for sailor man, brandy Singing good for sailor man, singing early in the morning, singing early in the morning, give us a drop of brandy, brandy good for sailor man, brandy Payday good for sailor man, payday early in the morning, payday early in the morning, give us a drop of brandy, brandy good for sailor man, brandy Shore leave good for sailor man, shore leave early in the morning, shore leave early in the morning, and give us a drop of brandy, brandy good for sailor man, brandy Loving good for sailor man, loving early in the morning, loving early in the morning, and give us a drop of brandy, brandy good for sailor man, brandy Whiskey good for sailor man, whiskey early in the morning, whiskey early in the morning, give us a drop of whiskey, whiskey good for sailor man, whiskey Brandy good for sailor man, brandy early in the morning, brandy early in the morning, give us a drop of brandy, brandy good for sailor man, brandy Oh, and I can't wait to hear all of you singing all the harmonies on that. Gonna happen.
Thank you so much for this absolutely fascinating group of songs. And
you're welcome. We got one more, I think, if we have...
We have about 2 minutes. If you can fit it in, we'd love to hear it.
I'll fit it in. Ish. Yeah, it's close. So the learning continues, right? You keep meeting new songs, you keep meeting new people. This is the song that I have learned most recently because it kept coming around, getting in my ears, and I think it is such a fitting song for the times. This is Rod MacDonald's Sailor's Prayer.
Oh.
Though my sails be torn and tattered, and the mast be turned about, let the night wind chill me to my very soul. And though the spray might sting my eyes, and the stars no light provide, give me just another morning light to hold. And I will not lie me down, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm. And if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. Though the only water left is but salt to wound my thirst, I will drink that rain that falls so steady down. And though night's blindness be my gift, and there be thieves upon my drift, I will praise the fog that shelters me along. And I will not lie me down, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm. And if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. Though my mates be drained and weary, and believe their hopes are lost, there's no need for their bones on that blackened bottom. And though death waits just off the bow, they shall not answer to him now. He shall stand to face the morning without us. And I will not lie me down, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm. And if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. And if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lynz. What a fabulous set.
Thanks, Kate.
Lovely.
Thank you all for being here. Thanks for coming and helping make this thing keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Hope to sing with you all in the future in person.